Snafu is a podcast that contains adult themes and language. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey guys, welcome to Snafu, where the situation's normal, all fucked up. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Corey.
And this is the podcast where we tell you true stories of true crime, true mysteries, and truly fucked up shit that happens every day, and then we just forget about it. This week we're going to be talking about killer kids. So welcome to episode 4, The Kids Are Not All Right. Or what I'd like to say, parents suck at being parents.
They really do, and they're so easy to ruin a kid, I've realized.
I think the whole reason I got inspired for this episode in the first place is because school just started and I live close to a high school, so it's literally killing me every day trying to maneuver around these idiots while I'm just trying to get to work. But then I have to remember, I was that age and I literally could not think beyond my own.
I feel like when I was a kid, I remember driving to high school and I stayed out of the way. If there was someone that was more important than me, which was everybody at that point, I would pull the damn side of the road and let them pass me.
Oh my God.
But down here, where we're at, all the kids seem to be just that the world owes them something and they're gonna...
Well, they drive nicer cars than we do. I don't have a BMW or a Lexus.
Yeah, but they're also parking them wherever the hell they please and they're driving like complete assholes. Our two stories today are definitely going to be dealing with a little bit less of the happy-go-lucky, let's just bitch about the kids and driving, and more about killer kids.
You know, kids with purpose.
Yeah, kids with probably the wrongest purpose there is.
What story do you have for me, Corey?
My story today is going to be about the first school shooting in recent memory. It's one that has started school shootings in locations that aren't like a university, and it was also done by, at the time, a child. I'm going to use the word minor because the word child just creeps me out. This is the story about Brenda Spencer and the fact that she just doesn't like Mondays.
That's it?
It's going to be a lot more. I mean, it's a whole lot to build up to that.
Okay.
But if you guys have been following us on Twitter, you're going to hear the songs I Don't Like Mondays. And that was inspired by this event that I'm going to tell you all about today.
It was a hip UK song.
It was, and the UK really needs to figure out what they're making their songs off of.
Okay, but the Beatles literally wrote a song about how when sunshine comes out, it's a damn miracle. So
Well, it's Great Britain. They lost in 1776, and it's always raining there from what I've been told. So they've been having a rough 230 years, so...
You get your amusement where you can.
Yeah, we'll give it to him. So, Brenda Ann Spencer was born in April 1962 to Dorothy and Wallace Spencer. We're going to call Dorothy Dot here. In San Diego, California. She's the youngest of 3 children, and from the outside looking in, her family life seems like it's the typical middle-class American life. But things really changed rapidly in 1972. Brenda's parents get divorced, so she's 9 years old at this time.
Divorce wasn't all that common back then.
No, it wasn't. And the reasoning for this, too, but part of the reason is that Wallace wanted to see other people and see if he could, go on dates with other women and then come back to Dorothy and the family. And Dot was having 0 of that and immediately went out and filed for divorce.
Okay.
So if that tells you anything about the parenting in this situation, well, we've got more about that. According to Dot, too, just in general, Wallace was sleeping around. And she was, accepting of it until he approached her and, solidified it. And there's a point where he had gone forth and rented an apartment for a year, just outside the house. And that's just, to me, that's really, really weird. I don't do well with relationships in general, but I know that's something that you don't do.
That's how a relationship ends. How can you get an apartment and then come back to your wife and children?
Yeah, and I don't get how that works.
But this is all what Dot says, right?
Yeah, it's all from what Dot's saying about it, and there's no support or denial of this from Wallace. He just hasn't breached the topic from everything I saw about it. But once Dorothy did, file for divorce, that was kind of the end of it for the family. Wallace stepped in and he brought a lawyer and fought for custody of the kids. Dot didn't. She just didn't have the money.
But,
And
like, that doesn't make any sense. He just wanted... Just a moment ago, she was saying, I left him because he was running around on me and he wanted to leave us. And now he wants the kids?
yeah, and he wanted to make sure they weren't split up, but he also... At first, he didn't want a family. He wanted to be outside the family, and then he's fighting for it. So I'm not 100% certain that all the stories on this are true. We just have what we can gather from the two parties involved. And whenever divorce happens, it always gets messy.
Yeah, people get salty as fuck.
Yeah, people just get super salty about it. So who really knows what the true story is? All that we do know is that Dot and Wallace did divorce. Dot didn't fight for custody of the kids, saying she couldn't afford a lawyer, and Wallace stepped in with a lawyer, got custody of all 3 children, and moved them into his house. Now, for the next number of years, Brenda's growing up, and she's not the girl who fits in. She just doesn't... Something's just off about her. Now,
Well, she's growing up without a mom.
yeah, she's growing up without a mom, and the home life... We'll get to the home life in a little bit, but their home life is a little weird for Brenda. So by the time she's 16, she's 5'2" and extremely thin. She's only weighing 89 pounds, and that's a very tiny person.
Yeah, super tiny.
She's got long, stringy red hair.
Oh, there's your problem. She's a ginger. So she's lacking a soul?
I mean, that's what all the reports say. Just about them in general, not about Brenda per se. And she's got these large, slightly darkened glasses. Like, they're really, really big for her face, and it's the weird 70s time frame or where it's not that transition lens, it's just that, like, weird shade of, like, almost like a pale red in the lens from like, what the picture was showing. They're just...
Sounds very groovy.
And it goes so much to say that her classmates have always described her as, I'm kind of quoting this one, pretty crummy looking.
Kids are pretty fucking mean.
Yeah, kids are terrifying. They always tell you about the things you hate the most about yourself.
They, like, look you over and then zone in, and they're like, your mother never hugged you after you were 6 or something, and you're like, what?
That man's got feminine hips. Oh, that's the thing I'm most sensitive about. You know, and all she seemed to ever talk about was how mean her father was. So this is, you know, adding some more light to the way her family life was. And... You know, her hobbies here are how she liked to hunt birds and squirrels with her air pellet rifle. In school, Brenda was inattentive, and her teachers recall constantly telling her to wake up. So she just wasn't giving her all in school, but she was very, very good at photography and even won first place in the Humane Society's photography contest. But because she was very truant, you know, tardy and just absent a lot of times, she was transferred to a facility for problem students.
What? They could do that? Holy fuck, I'm so lucky.
Yeah, if I guess at certain times before the No Child Left Behind Act, if you just didn't show up and you're constantly being late and lethargic about it, they're just going to transfer you out of the school.
Yeah, or kids just dropped out.
Yeah.
Like, what a stupid... Okay. Yep.
You know, kids would just drop out. And while she's at this facility, this is like early 78, so towards the end of the 70s, the faculty had informed both of her parents that Brenda was suicidal.
Oh, no.
And her mother, at least, admitted to hearing this and assumed that her father, who she was living with, was going to discuss it with her and handle it.
Meaning what?
That Wallace was going to do something about her being suicidal and try to get her help or at least talk to her about it.
And Dot was gonna...
Hope that Wallace did.
That's
So-
it.
So Dorothy never spoke to her daughter about these suicidal thoughts, just assuming that Wallace would. And lo and behold, Wallace, who's a mean father and Brenda's own account, just never approached it.
You know, but that's the thing. It's the 70s, and that's not a good excuse. But during, even like today, we still have a hard time like confronting psychological issues and like mental problems or depression or anxiety, and especially like a kid, especially in a divorced home. She's been showing all these signs, the inattentiveness. She's basically fucking malnourished.
Yeah.
And I just think that we're really lucky now that we're starting to talk to our kids about, like, you know, hey, tell me how you feel. Let's talk about these problems. But like back then, nobody wanted to talk to you about it. Like, nobody's talking to her.
It's one of those things that you look at it And if you go to therapy meetings and people don't treat it like a real illness because they can't see something physically wrong with you. Yeah, like you're saying, nowadays we're starting to approach it that mental illness or mental health is just as important as physical health.
It is. You guys should definitely take care of yourselves.
Back in this time, they didn't approach it. Probably even less a father speaking to their daughter about it. So the summer of 78, Brenda went across the street from her family home to the Grover Cleveland Elementary School and broke out one of the school windows with her BB gun. She was caught and arrested for breaking and entering and theft. So she's kind of already starting a little bit of petty crime in a way, you know, vandalism and whatnot. Stuff everyone might have done at one point or another.
Or like, you know, just small, stupid shit that you shouldn't have done, but she got caught.
Yeah, she got caught, got arrested for it, and, you know, that was kind of it at that point. In December, Brenda was given a psychiatric evaluation that her probation officer had recommended, though. The results of the evaluation suggested that Brenda be admitted to a mental hospital for her depressed state. However, Wallace refused to give permission for Brenda to be given treatment. Again, it's mental health. People aren't going to necessarily approach it.
But this is the second time someone's come to him.
It is, but he's still, I mean, who knows where his thought process is. And I'm not trying to defend him at all. I'm just saying, like, maybe he doesn't want to spend the money on a mental hospital for his daughter. However, that Christmas, Brenda had asked her father for a radio. And instead, Wallace decided he wanted to purchase her a semi-automatic .22 caliber rifle.
What the fuck?
Fitted with a telescope and, you know, 500 rounds of ammunition.
What the fuck?
Right? Because also, in America, we sell ammo by the bucket. And I don't know what you're doing when you're giving a child who you've gotten 2 reports of being suicidal or depressed, a rifle with a telescope, and a lot of ammunition. So
what a shitty parent.
Right? Like,
I'm ashamed of your issues for being suicidal, but here's a gun that you didn't ask for.
Now, officers in the San Diego area, and just any officers at this point, will tell you that a .22 rifle, they're very light guns and they have virtually no recoil. So they're very easy to handle and they're preferred by smaller people. You need like a 5'2", 89-pound 16-year-old. The first week back in school following Christmas, Brenda was said to have told another student that the next Monday she was going to do something big and get herself on TV. Monday morning, January 29th, 1979, Brenda told her father that she was too sick to go to school that day and she wanted to stay home. She waited for her siblings and her father to leave, and then she brought her rifle, BB gun, and 500 rounds of ammunition into the living room and set herself up. So at 8 in the morning, across the street from her home is Cleveland Elementary, and school children are walking up the sidewalks and the school driveway. Principal Burton Ragg was waiting patiently outside the school to open the gates for his students like he did every morning. Mike Sucher, who's a 56-year-old World War II veteran and custodian, was nearby starting his work and greeting children. Aww. A typical Monday morning.
Yeah, it sounds beautiful, except for the psycho.
Right. At 8:30, Brenda broke out window panes in her family home and began to rapidly fire at the children in school across the street.
Oh my god.
The first person she hit was a 9-year-old named Monica Selvig, who was shot in the wrist. Brenda shot Principal Ragg in the chest as he ran to save the school children, protect them. The janitor, Sucher, ran out to pull Ragg to safety, and he himself was shot. Brenda then shot a 9-year-old named Cam Miller, missing his heart by just an inch.
Oh my gosh.
Next up was Christy Buell, who's 9 years old, and 3 other students were shot in the abdomen.
Oh my god, they're all babies.
And yeah, they're children, they're babies. Yeah, they're elementary school. I can't even remember what 5th grade was like.
Look, anything under 25. Like 20 is a baby now.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get old. So as soon as this started happening, the news crews heard about it and started working very quickly. They reported that 2 children were in critical condition, 1 was in serious, and 1 was in fair condition, with another one in good condition. All the children in the school shooting did live, though.
Oh, good.
So no kids were shot, but no kids were killed during this. The next half hour, things moved very, very quickly. Police officers arrived, and security guards parked their garbage truck between the school and Brenda's house to block her view of the school.
Oh, that's smart.
Yep. Both police and reporters were quickly on scene, and reporter Gus Stevens began calling numbers from a phone book all around the area. He's just trying to find where that house is or where the shooting's coming from and speak to somebody, just trying to see what else he can learn.
That's so crazy.
However, he did end up getting Brenda on the phone. And
it worked. Oh
yep,
my God.
She told the reporter her address and her own name. When the reporter realized that he actually had the actual shooter on the phone, he motioned for a coworker to contact the police. Police barricaded the area around Brenda's house and then contacted her mother, Dorothy, and demanded that she come down to speak with her daughter. Dorothy here is at work right now, watching the live television updates of the shooting, and still refused to come with the police.
What?
Saying that she had a desk full of money that she had to take care of.
This is such... This woman doesn't...
So, Mom of the Year right here.
Yeah.
You know, we see, like...
Piece of shit.
You know, I'm not 100% certain that the news was broadcasting Brenda's name at this point.
But she knew where she lived.
The police sure as hell were, and yeah, she should know where her daughter lives.
And the police just came and said, you need to come. You just don't tell the police no.
Yeah. You know, so one of the unsung heroes here, though, is the reporter. He's still contacting Brenda. She's hanging up the phone, and he's doing his best to keep her on the phone and keep her talking.
How old is she again?
She's 16.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, he's keeping her on the phone, even though she keeps hanging up and he keeps calling back. And he starts asking, why are you doing this? You know, why are you shooting at the school? And Brenda's only response was, I don't like Mondays. This livens up the day. And I don't like Mondays is the title of the song that we have on our Twitter again.
Seems like someone's got a case of the Mondays.
If it wasn't a school shooting, I would be joking with you. Officer Robert Robb, who has the best parents ever, 28 years old, arrived on the scene to give support, and he was shot in the neck. He claims a bullet...
Not Robbie Rob.
It's like Marky Mark. He claims a bullet ricocheted off his shoulder blade and lodged in his spine. He had to retire from the force due to this injury. In all, though, with the number of officers that showed up, he's one of 100 officers, 30 patrol units, and 20 SWAT team members. There's 150 people nearby because of this shooting.
You know, everyone from every town everywhere had to come.
Yep. So when Brenda shot Rob, she told the reporter on the phone, I have to go now. I just shot a pig, and I think I want to shoot more.
Oh my God, it's so the 70s.
It's such the 70s. Like, there's a reason we all say things we say nowadays, and it's because of the 70s. I'm surprised she wasn't oinking. It took... The next several hours were a full negotiation. The police had very little information from her, and she kept telling the police that she was going to come out shooting.
I want to stop saying, oh my gosh.
There's not much you can say. It's one of those situations where you just gotta kind of roll with it. The entire event took 6.5 hours, and that's before she come out and surrender to the police.
You already have a SWAT team.
I
You can't take care of this shit.
I don't know why they didn't.
I don't know. I'm blaming you, Corey. I'm like looking you in the eye and like you can't do this.
I see that. Yeah, I don't. This is before I was even born.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry about that. You know, she comes out of her house at 3:30 in the afternoon to give herself up. Not coming out shooting. She gave herself up to the negotiators. When she was taken into custody, she showed no remorse and no emotions. She was dressed as if she were wearing what she imagined a SWAT member would wear.
Psycho.
Brown corduroy pants, a blue sweatshirt, and a black navy watch cap.
She sounds super cool.
She's something, that's for certain. SWAT officer Mike Hendrickson said she knew a lot about her operation from watching SWAT on TV. He was one of the officers who pinned Brenda to the ground after she came out and dropped her weapon onto the driveway.
So she knew what the police could do because of a TV show.
Yeah. I don't know if it was
me saying I watch Cops, so I definitely know to definitely go over a couple different fences to lose the camera guy.
Right, yeah. That's how you get away from them. And then you don't get tackled to the ground. You don't lose your pants.
I love that show.
Police discovered a shabby home with half-empty alcohol bottles strewn everywhere. Brenda claimed to have drank that morning while smoking marijuana laced with PCP.
Ooh.
She was tested, but the results showed no drugs or alcohol in her system.
She a liar.
And I still don't know why there's half-empty alcohol bottles in plural. If you're going to be a drinker, finish one and then move on to the next bottle. Doesn't taste
I'm pretty sure if there's an alcoholic around, there's no half-empty.
That's why I'm trying to figure out why there's half-empty bottles. Like
maybe they were just being nice.
It just doesn't make sense why there'd be a bunch of half-empty bottles. A test did show, though, that Brenda had a previous injury to her temporal lobe that was first said to be caused from a bicycle accident.
How?
So apparently they're running some CAT scans on her.
Yeah, in '79 they got that. Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
Magic.
I don't know how well CAT scans were back in the '70s. Although she was only 16 when she started the shooting, she was tried as an adult. During her first instance in court, she pleaded guilty and waived her right to trial by jury.
Oh, mistake.
She was given 25 to life with the possibility of parole.
She's only 16 and they charged her as an adult?
When you plead guilty, you waive that trial by jury. You admit guilt and you go straight to sentencing.
So, like, she just goes to prison with a whole bunch of adults right now?
So she goes into juvenile detention at first.
So at least then they still have to admit that she is a child.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So although she's tried as an adult, Brenda's still placed in juvenile detention. While she's here, she has a roommate who's a year younger than her named Sheila, who got released the next year to a halfway house. Sheila begins a relationship with none other than Wallace Spencer. Yeah, Brenda's father.
Oh my, gross.
Right? Yeah. So Sheila, she ends up beginning a relationship with Brenda's father. She ran away from the halfway house to Wallace Spencer's house and told him that she was pregnant, so he could either marry her or go to jail.
What the fuck?
Now, here's where it gets even worse and
no,
why...
it can't. It can't get worse.
And this is why it's cringy and I'm being super awkward about this. Sheila was 17 at the time, step one. And two, it's been reported that she looks so much like Brenda that detectives who were still keeping tabs on the situation initially thought that Brenda was at the house and out of jail. So Sheila looks exactly like Wallace's daughter, who's in prison.
Incest.
I see that's, and you're wondering why I'm looking super awkward about this whole thing. Eventually, Wallace does marry Sheila and raise their daughter even after Sheila had abandoned them. So she was like,
he had a fucking choice: go to jail, get fucked in the butt, or marry a 17-year-old.
Yeah. So, yeah, right. All right. Okay, so while Brenda's in prison, it's reported by her that her father visits every week. He makes a 5-hour round trip on Saturdays to go visit his daughter in prison. Her mother would visit every once in a while, but by the time of her first parole hearing, she hadn't heard from her mother in a few years.
Oh, it seems like pretty typical Dot.
Oh yeah, it's par for the course here.
Dot the twat.
While in prison, Brenda becomes a model prisoner. And she even begins a profession because they're teaching her how to drive a forklift. You know, one of those, what they're trying to do in prisons, obviously rehabilitate you to be existing in the outside world, and assigning someone a profession and a marketable skill will help with that.
Yeah, and any technical skill like that is like awesome for you to get out and
yeah.
use. What else are you going to do?
A technical skill that keeps you away from people as well. I mean...
Yeah, but also, like, regardless, it's really hard for a convict to get a job versus someone that doesn't have that record.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's just that hard in the first place, yet alone, like, what is it that you feel like you can even do?
You don't have a place in it at that point.
So, yeah, we should be training them in marketable skills.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Rehabilitation.
Yeah, I completely agree on that one. And when she's in prison, too, she's actually diagnosed as epileptic, and they help treat her for her depression.
Wow, she could die from something like that, so glad somebody takes care of her.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, they're trying to fix her, and that's what's really nice about this thing. You know, they give her a job, then they're treating her for her mental illnesses. Her first years in the system, she expressed no regret or emotions for her crimes.
Because she's a psycho?
And while she was first incarcerated, the song that we keep referencing, I Don't Like Mondays, by the Boomtown Rats singer Bob Geldof, became a #1 hit for 4 weeks in the United Kingdom and received extensive radio play in the United States. Bob actually recalls Spencer writing to him saying that she was glad she had done it because he made her famous with that song.
Oh my god, what? No, you would feel so shitty like your entire life.
He's always on record saying that's not a good thing to live with. That's not something he wants to continue to have in his conscience. And I mean,
he did make her world famous.
He did. And, like, you look at some other songs, not to call out, but one of my favorite bands out there is Foster the People. And they've got a song that's definitely about a shooting. But it's not about a school shooting. It doesn't call out anything by certain specific situations.
And yet, didn't they still get in trouble?
I think they did. Because they stopped playing, that was on Pumped Up Kicks. And they stopped playing that during the Sandy Hook, like, a few months following Sandy Hook. Certain areas didn't play that song for a while. So, during her first parole hearing in 1993, she expressed that her intention for committing the crime was to commit suicide by cop, and that during her offense, she'd been drinking and doing drugs, which the test results are disputing.
So she's lying.
She's lying about at least half of that, the second half, because we've got test results, and those things are going to be really quickly taken when you're booked to see if you are actually on something.
Why lie if you know they already have those answers?
I can't even begin to get in the mind of where she's at with that. Eventually, she does begin to display emotions, and it's shown that she understands what crime she committed, and that she also understands that there's no way for it to be undone or bring back the lives she took. She does regret the fear she placed in school children. So she's starting to there are certain points where she'll claim that she's super aware of what's going on, and others where she wasn't aware while it was happening. But now she knows what's going on, and she's starting to regret it.
Well, I mean, she took 2 lives.
I know.
That's why she's in prison.
Yeah, that's exactly why she's in prison. During her parole hearing in 2001, Brenda expressed for the first time that she was being sexually abused by her father, before the shooting occurs. She said that she and her father would share a bed and that he almost raped her.
Almost?
But that he did sodomize her, and that led to other things.
Oh, no. Here's the thing. That makes sense. She was talking about her dad.
Yeah.
A lot in school. They said she's sleeping in the same bed as him.
Yep.
But she's got, a sister. Normal kids don't sleep in their parents' bed at, 15, 16.
No, yeah.
You'll sleep in your siblings' bed before you, do that. Or, you'll sleep with mom if you're a girl. A 16-year-old girl doesn't sleep in bed with her single dad.
No, not at all.
And then he fucked a girl that looked just like her?
Yeah, everything here has some really bizarre situations. But in an interview, one of the very, very rare, Wallace Spencer always avoids the camera. Whenever he sees people coming by near the school,
he's an incest pedophile.
He avoids the camera, will just go back inside and won't answer the door. However, there is one interview with Wallace Spencer, and he denies the claim that he did anything sexual with his daughter, and said they never shared a mattress on the floor, but that they did share a bedroom and each had their own bed.
Why? Why wouldn't she be in her sister's room? No, I'm just saying that's bullshit.
Yeah. And, he wouldn't comment any further than this. However, in 2001, during the time when she admits that she was sexually abused, she also admits that she was hit by her father in her face and abdomen, and she's denied bail once again. 2005 rolls around. The parole hearing happens again. A San Diego deputy district attorney, way too many D's in that, cited an incident in 2001 where Brenda had self-harmed herself with a heated paperclip after a failed relationship in prison. Brenda used the paperclip. She scratched the words courage and pride into her chest.
That's long words. That's not a 4-letter word.
No, that's a lot, and that's going to hurt, and I'm kind of cringing by the feel of it. Brenda said that it was inaccurate and that the writing was done in runes and read unforgiven and alone. Again, this after a failed relationship in prison, so who can really be...
Dude, she just needs psychological help.
She does. She definitely does. And she's denied parole in 2005. In 2009, which was her most recent parole hearing, she's denied parole again and will not be up for parole again until next year in 2019.
So next year. But do they keep saying why? Why 10 years before you can have a parole hearing?
I don't know, because it was 93, then 2001, which is 8 years, and 2005, which is 4 years, 2009, which is 4 more years, and now 10. I don't know why they're making these jumps, especially for someone that's been claimed to be a model prisoner.
Yeah, I mean, again, like we said at the beginning of the podcast, the whole point is rehabilitation. And I can see that she has, issues, but those aren't prison-worthy issues. Those are, you need to be in a psychiatric facility.
Yeah, you need to be somewhere where they're professionals that can give you assistance for this.
I mean, how did nobody put all these pieces together before this?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like it could just be...
I think you just get thrown in the system, and that's it. They don't look any further into any of your situation unless you force them to look at it. I think you just get lost. Every time a school shooting happens, they think of, it happens probably right around the time that she has parole, and she, once again, gets blamed for something that, the whole nation is hurting at the time. So then... Yeah,
everyone needs a scapegoat, and since she's one of the first school shootings, it's all going to come back around to that. And I mean... When Columbine happened, who knows if this even inspired any of those shootings or, sadly, the more recent school shooting in Florida. Who knows?
No, I don't think she inspired them. I think she just faces the brunt of the anger because every time we've had a school shooting, like, we never catch them.
Yeah.
She was the first and we caught her, and then this dipshit that just did it down here, we caught him, but I think everyone else has basically killed themselves.
I think so.
And I guess, I'm stepping on my own toes and saying, well, she needs psychiatric help, whereas he's a piece of shit. But it's a different situation. Thank God she didn't kill any kids. But yeah, she did kill 2 adults. She shot a policeman. But she's been in jail for like 40 years.
Something like that. She was
79.
79, and it's
And
2018 right now.
Oh, okay, so she's up for parole next year.
Yeah, so who knows what's going to happen then, because she's been denied parole every single time up until now. So.
And she got life with the chance of parole?
Yeah, that's why they're giving her parole. 25 to life. So, there's a minimum sentence and there's a maximum, but it doesn't necessarily, that's a ceiling. It doesn't necessarily need to go all the way to life.
And why did they say that they were, not giving her parole?
They don't actually release why they're not giving her parole. They just deny her parole. Maybe they think she's not fully rehabilitated yet and could use more time, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't want her just released into the public, but like I said, I don't think prison's the place that's gonna heal her now.
No, it definitely isn't.
So, that sucks.
Yeah.
Well, that was a bummer.
It really is, so...
Let me tell you something worse.
All right.
All right, let's leave California, and I'm gonna take you guys to New Mexico.
All right.
All right, you guys ready? Because it's gonna get really fucking weird. Buckle up.
Worse than someone shooting up in elementary school?
In a different way.
Great.
It's killer kids, man. It's gonna suck. So, it's July 5th, 2004, and former ABC News anchor Sam Donaldson has been calling his ranch foreman all morning, but he's been unable to reach him. Delbert Paul Posey.
There's a name.
What a fucking name. He preferred to go by Paul. At least he had some sense. He's been living on the Chavez Canyon Ranch in Hondo, New Mexico since 2001. He's a really reliable and hardworking employee, and so Donaldson was very concerned with the fact that he could not reach him.
Yeah.
That's unusual. And he's concerned enough that he and his wife decide to take a drive out to Paul's house that's located on the ranch. So the way these big ranches work is you have small cabin-like homes for your workers and their families, so that they're all attending the ranch every day.
Yeah, if they're the ranch hand, they need to be there for animals or whatever.
It's a hard work, and it takes a lot of hours, so you can't just not have people living there.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's a cattle ranch or something like that.
So when Donaldson gets to the house, he finds a missing truck, a smashed-in window, trails of blood, and a note that said, "Sorry, coppers, I needed the kid to do the dirty work."
That's weird.
Yeah, so Paul, his wife, Okay, this is fun. His wife's name is Tryone, Tryon, but they call her Tryon or something. So their son Cody and stepdaughter Marilee are nowhere to be found.
All right.
Okay? Donaldson quickly called a friend and law enforcement officer, and he informs him of the situation on his ranch. Police then found 14-year-old Cody Posey at his friend's house the next day and took him into custody. Originally, Cody stuck to his story that he hadn't had any involvement with whatever had happened at his family home, but it only took 90 minutes for the police to get a full confession from Cody. So, Cody claimed that on July 4th, he'd been mucking out the corral when his father became really angry with him for not doing the job the way Paul felt it should have been done. So, his father slapped him across the face and ordered him to go into the house.
Well, that's, parenting at its finest.
It was at this time that Paul was, putting up his tools, and Cody went to his stepsister's saddlebag and took out her .38 revolver.
That sounds like New Mexico to me, yeah.
Yeah.
You have a saddlebag with a revolver.
So his sister's only a year younger than him. So his stepsister's 13, and she has a snub-nosed revolver. In it is a bunch of snake shot, which is just shooting rodents and snakes at close range. And
Okay.
it's
Is it like a scatter shot?
yeah,
type
it's
of
like a
thing?
scatter shot.
Okay.
Instead of being a real bullet, you have to be up on top of it and
So similar to like firing a shotgun with like
yeah, and you can also do it with rifles, but she had a small revolver.
Yeah.
So he takes his sister's revolver out of her saddlebag, he unloads the snake shot, and then he reloads it with actual bullets. He notices that his father's looking under his truck at something. So Cody takes the opportunity to go into the living room where his stepmother is reading on the couch, and he shoots her twice in the back of the head.
Oh, jeez.
In his confession, he said he had shot her twice to make sure the job was done. That's his quote, to make sure the job was done.
That's a weird way of putting it.
Well, he thought he had reloaded the weapon with all real bullets, but the first shot to his stepmother had actually been snake shot. So he shot her a second time to make sure she was actually going to be dead.
I'm sorry, but with like a revolver, I'm picturing like the Wild West. Like you can see all the shells. You would know how many you took out and how many you put back in.
I mean, maybe it was just mixed up with the other bullets.
Okay, that would make sense.
Either way, like, he shoots her twice in the head.
Yeah, either way, it doesn't make it any better.
Because of the shots, he knows that his dad is going to be coming in really soon. So he goes to the kitchen, and as he gets to the kitchen, he watches his father and his stepsister, Mara Lee, start coming inside through the kitchen back door. Mm-hmm. And as they come through, Cody shoots his dad in the head. And then he also shoots his sister, Mara Lee, so that she wouldn't run off and tell on him.
Yeah, did he kill her?
Yeah, he killed all three of them.
Jeez.
So Cody panics and he takes a backhoe from the ranch, which, like, it's a ranch. It's a working ranch, so it has all these huge machines that can do all this heavy load work. And he goes to dig, like, a hole to bury his family in, but it didn't work. Like, he hit a hard He hits a hard patch of ground because it's fucking New Mexico.
Yeah, it's just rock.
Yeah, and so he gives up on that. He drags his family out of the house and loads them into the backhoe.
Yeah.
He drops them in a ravine, and he covers their body with a mountain of manure.
All right. I mean,
Good reaction. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, part of me is like responding like, oh, well, that seems smart. And then part of me is realizing he just covered his parents and his sister with shit.
Yeah. So Cody returned the backhoe to its normal spot. He went into the house. He changes his clothes. He's very controlled about this. He breaks out a window panel in order to make it look like someone had broken in. Then he left that dumbass note that someone only from like the 1920s gangster movies would have written. And this is like such a farm kid. He goes and he turns off the electric and the water to the house so he's not going to be wasteful.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
I know that pays the bills around here.
Now he is. God, it's so dark. So he steals his dad's truck. He throws away the .38 into a nearby river. He drives to the local store, picks up a can of Sprite, and then goes to his friend's house.
Yeah.
His friend, Leo Salcido, recalled Cody, after this whole event, they talked to him, and he recalls that, quote, "I've never seen that side of Cody, really. I've never seen him so happy." Police get that call from Donaldson.
Yeah.
Of course, they see the note. They go looking for Cody. They find Cody at the house, because I'm pretty sure it's nearby.
Yeah.
And
I'm assuming it's a town in New Mexico where there's not many cars.
Yeah, so they took Cody to a safe house and into a room for interviewing children. And then...
How old is Cody at this point?
Cody's 14.
Yeah.
So ranch hand Eli Salcido, uncle of the kid we just talked about, he becomes super concerned because, like, he doesn't really know what's just happened, but this kid's 14. Like,
yeah.
You shouldn't be interviewing him without a lawyer. So much so that that's when he started asking that question to the sheriff about why and what they were doing and why the kid didn't have a lawyer, that they shouldn't be interrogating him without a lawyer, to which the sheriff was like, "We're not." But they literally just put him on camera and the kid spilled his guts to 2 police officers. It just really comes down to, at this point, like, really? You got slapped and you murdered your parents?
That's such like a 14-year-old. I mean, it's like...
Well, like, the whole thing is, like, childish. It's super not well thought out. Like, you dump obviously they're gonna go missing. He dragged them through the house.
Yeah.
You know, like, the bodies are right there, and you literally just went down the road to your friend's house. Like, it's so predictive of, like, a child doing this.
Yeah, I mean, most people just will scream, stomp their feet, scream at their parents some more, and then get in their car and drive to their friend's house, up murdering their parents.
Well, according to Cody, it wasn't the slap that put him over the edge, but the night before that had really pushed him there.
Oh?
Yeah. Cody would claim to the police officers that on the night of July 3rd, his father called him into the master bedroom. When Cody entered the bedroom, he walked in on his naked 44-year-old stepmother laying on the bed, and his father directed him to have sex with his stepmother.
Oh.
Yeah, so Cody refused, and because Cody was refusing, his father tried to burn him with a welding rod.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah, that would push most people over the edge.
Yeah. So there's even pictures too. Like, the investigators heard this, took pictures of his arms. You can see like burns on his arms. Like, that'll be in our gallery, like, when we post it after we, like, put the story up for you guys to go look at. Cody then goes on, like, he just starts spilling his guts, like, 90 minutes long. Like, he tells about that night. He, tells them everything. Cody goes on to make claims that he's just been severely, like, abused physically and verbally from his father throughout his whole childhood. And that fact is, like, very few people that got asked about this could deny that.
Yeah.
So this is Cody's background. Cody was born in 1989, but his parents divorced in 1992 when he was 3. So his parents ended up in a custody dispute for over, like, 8 years. And meanwhile, Paul remarries his second wife, who is Sandra. She had a good relationship with Cody, but she divorced Paul by, like, 1998.
All right.
When Cody was 7, Cody's mother had pictures taken and reported Paul for child abuse after Paul beat Cody with a board on his butt for bringing home bad grades.
That's just, I mean, it's not child abuse, but...
I mean, I thought that too, because it's, okay, so he got a spanking, but
That's,
literally
yeah.
it created
I mean, the board thing
No,
makes
it created a hospital trip. There were pictures.
Oh.
Yeah, like, he was beating him. So in 2000, Paul gave up his parental rights to Cody, but literally, like, 3 months later, his mother died in a car crash that Cody survived.
Oh.
So at 10 years old, he was returned to his father, even as he begged his new stepdad, that his mom had remarried.
Yeah.
He begged that man, do not send me back to my father. Please don't let me go. Paul, by this time, had already been married to his third wife, Try-One. And in
Not a real name.
Right. And then in 2001, when Paul was hired as a ranch manager, he and his third wife, Cody, and the stepsister all moved into the ranch house.
All right.
So everyone in the family was working on this ranch. But because Cody was the only boy, he was expected to really take on most of the farm tasks.
It's just tradition or stereotyping at that point.
It
That's
would
not the word I wanna
be,
use.
but if he doesn't do his work to his dad's satisfaction, who's the foreman, on the ranch, in his home chores, or even at school, he's punished severely. And we're not talking like, you didn't do a good enough job mucking out this. It's like, you didn't do it good enough and fast enough. It should have been done 20 minutes.
Okay.
You know, like,
he's holding his kid to the same standard you'd hold an employee.
as a full grown ass man.
Yeah.
Except for he can't touch a full grown ass man.
Yeah.
Cody said that out of all this, he did like his stepsister, but that she was considered the golden child, and that it seemed like every time he did something wrong, she would actually get rewarded while he was being punished. She was even urged by her mother and stepfather to watch Cody even at school, and then to tattle on him if she were to see anything, because if she did, she would get rewarded for it. So that probably built like so much fucking bitterness.
That's just so much. That's not gonna be a good relationship for that family.
It's not her fault, but like, yeah, that kid's he's gonna hate her.
Yeah.
According to Cody, his stepmother, Try-One, also abused him. And in his confession, he said, quote, "She was mean. She hit me and stuff." Again, it just doesn't sound that bad, but he's a kid, so
he doesn't necessarily have the words to put together.
Yeah. So by the time the trial begins on January 16th, 2006, so there's
I forget how much more recent this one is than my story. Like, I keep... In my head, I'm still picturing, like, the 70s and stuff.
Yeah,
so
get rid of the corduroys. And
yeah.
January 16th, 2006, a number of people are actually supporting Cody, including his own family members, especially on his mother's side.
Okay.
So the prosecution's aim is to point out that Cody is a cold-blooded, calculated murderer.
He's 14 years old.
Yeah, and they go after him hard.
You can't be calculated at 14.
Well, they showed pictures of Cody with his family smiling in order to point out that his claims of abuse are false. You can't have happy family pictures if somebody's abusing you sometimes. What they really wanted to show the jury was that Cody was exaggerating his claims and that he was a murderer who killed his family because they had made him do chores and do well in school. That, since he planned the order of the killings in a way so as to not get caught, he was fully aware of what he was doing and that it was wrong and that it was a crime because he tried to hide it. And because he didn't in that order. He shot his stepmom so she couldn't call the cops. He shot his dad because he hated his dad. And he shot his stepsister because he didn't want
to call the cops.
Right. So because of that, because that had to take some thinking, they're saying he had this all planned out.
I don't know. At that point, it's almost like panic killing. You know, like, you're going to do this, but you need to... I don't know.
Well, hang on. So the defense never says that Cody didn't do it because he did. What they do try and show is that this murder was not just a sudden crime of passion or like planned out for nights on nights. They're just trying to show that it's literally the result of years of abuse and disassociation.
Okay.
So in order to prove their point, they had 37 witnesses testify to alleged instances of physical and verbal and emotional abuse.
It's a lot
37
of
people can come up and talk shit about this guy and how he treated his son. We're not going to go into all of them, but I do have a couple of the testimonies. So we got a ranch hand named Slim Britton.
That's a ranch hand name.
I love cowboys. He worked for Paul for 8 months on the ranch and testified that he had seen Paul ride up to Cody and hit him with a coiled rope in the back for being out of the drive. So, like, they're on the farm, they're driving the cows, he gets a little bit out of line. So to fix it, his dad rides up and then just slaps him in the back with this braided cord that even this cowboy's like, it would hurt.
Yeah.
He hits him right in the back. He says that every day he saw the two while he had worked for Paul, that there was always harsh words and sometimes beatings. Quote, I never saw a hand laid on him in love. Paul's second wife, Sandy, testified about his treatment during the time she was with them, and she said she loved Cody, but that she always had to keep Paul from hitting him when they were married and living all together. She talked about Paul pulling him from the top bunk, so like he has a bunk bed that he's sleeping on the top bunk in.
Okay.
And
that's how you get pulled from the top bunk.
And Paul would walk over, grab his arm, and just yank him and slam him to the ground.
Why?
Because he's a dick. Another time she came home and she had to stop Paul in the middle of beating him with a board, and that's the time that Cody's mother, Carla, reported him to the police. Cody was only 7. There were pictures, there were bruises.
Yeah.
What 7-year-old, because of your grades, deserves that kind of beating?
No, I mean, you're 7. You're barely learning math at that point.
All right, so then we got a woman named Alvera Lerma, and she's the wife of a ranch hand who worked for Paul, and because Paul didn't speak any Spanish, she was basically his translator for anybody he needed to talk to.
Right.
So she was around them, like, a lot. And, quote, I remember Cody pulled up his sleeve and he had burn marks from cigarettes. Of Paul, she said, quote, he was violent when he would get mad. And then she even recalled 4 months before the murder that she had told her husband that she had a feeling that something was going to happen in that family, that either Paul was going to kill Cody or Cody was going to kill Paul. That's how violent these two males are getting.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. Boys hit that age and they hit puberty and they're big shit, and sometimes like they kind of take the dad on.
That didn't happen to me.
Yeah, well, you had Leave It to Beaver family,
Yeah.
but I know that some guys kind of need to be put in their place.
Yeah,
but that's
the
not
testosterone gets rising and people
Yeah.
get crazy.
But that's not this kid.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, Paul's going overboard. Even Mara Lee's father, the stepdaughter,
Yeah.
Her dad actually testified for Cody and said that, quote, Cody doesn't need to be punished for this. He didn't do it. Paul and Treyon did this. He blames the parents.
That's insane. I mean, if you can get...
He lost his own child.
That's what I'm saying. If you can get the father of one of the...
I think he knows what a bitch Big T was.
Yeah.
All right, so the prosecution actually brought forth Paul's brother, Cody's uncle, another great name, Verlin Posey.
Yeah, whoever named this family needs to not
do that ever again. So, Verlin indicates that he doesn't believe one word of Cody's story about ever being abused, that he himself had never seen any proof of it. Quote, how do you hide it? This kid ought to have enough scars on his face that look like a road map. If you listen to Cody, he took as many licks as Muhammad Ali.
Great uncle.
He likes to point out that they were both raised in a house where, yeah, spankings were a thing, and maybe Paul was like an enforcer of spankings, but there was no abuse. Then he pointed out that he made this statement that Paul had locked up all of his weapons because he was worried about Cody. But that's just hearsay. Like, nobody can prove that.
You should just lock up your weapons in general.
Yeah, probably should.
That's just my thought.
I don't know. Awareness, safety,
and
all
that's,
the things you
again,
should do
that's
when you
something
own a
that
gun.
like this is happening like as I'm graduating high school or getting into college, like this whole case 2006. That's stuff that was going on nowadays. Like, the 70s, sure, having a unlocked gun it's not as broadcast as it is today, but this is a modern day thing. Like, all your current thoughts apply here. Have your weapons and guns locked up.
Yeah, well, their 13-year-old daughter has like a snub-nosed.
Yeah, I mean, you got a snub-nosed pistol.
I remember what the area.
I forget we're dealing with
about.
cowboys, and I'm from New England, so.
Yeah, we're talking about New Mexico.
Right, I know. I don't deal with cowboys where I grew up.
And like the weird thing is like this is such a farm kid, so whenever he talks about like describing how he shot them, he'll say, "I hit him here."
Yeah.
And it sounds like super like gangstery.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is if you know what you're talking about guns, I hit the target here. I hit,
Yeah.
And it just that's okay. The defense then had Slim Britton, our cowboy, talk about Paul in an incident where Paul used an iron hook used for lifting hay against Cody.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
and
that's
I know
psycho
those.
shit.
I can pick those out of my.
Yeah. It's just literally a piece of wood that goes between your fingers and a long metal hook.
Yeah.
That's it.
To move hay bales and shit.
And so he's telling a story about like Cody would go like this and gesture like with the hook, like how he would be moving.
So those of you who can see that, good job.
And then Paul would reach over and hit him across the hand or hit him on the hand with the hook because he didn't like how he was doing it.
Oh, God.
So then ranch hand Pilo Vasquez described Paul hitting Cody in the chest and on the shoulder. Again, I didn't see any marks. Well, abusers don't hit you in
obvious places.
Yeah, they'll hit you in the fucking ribs or they'll like hurt your arms and expect you to wear long sleeves. They're working on a ranch. They're not walking around in flip-flops and tank tops.
Yeah.
And then another thing that Pilo testifies about is an incident with another hay hook, which Paul allegedly threatened to cut off his son's balls if he popped the clutch while driving the ranch pickup truck.
Yeah, that's not something you say to anybody.
Get alone like your 13, 14-year-old son.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, 37 witnesses could come forth and just give a whole bunch of testimony to random terrible shit Paul does.
All right, then.
But the defense has another trick up their sleeve.
Are they summoning the dead?
No, but they do bring out his computer.
Oh.
Yeah, remember the thing we're all fucking terrified of now?
Yeah, that's right.
The one you make your best friend promise to go clear all your fucking search history?
Clear, they just burn the damn thing.
Well, in this house, Paul is the only one that has a computer that hooks up to the internet.
Okay.
Marilee and Cody had a computer, but it didn't connect to the internet. Probably just like write your
reports
and stuff.
Yeah.
So in order to get on the internet, you'd have to go use his computer in his office. They had a computer expert who went through the entire hard drive and through all of his internet searches. And the keywords that had been searched were, quote, free incest stories. There was incestuous porn. That's fun to say. Say that 5 times fast.
I'm not going to.
And that had been viewed on the computer. Someone searched the words son, the word wife, and the word daughter in the same search. They then the lawyer pulls out this binder, a giant binder filled with a compilation of images that had been found on the hard drive whenever you searched the words incest and daughter. Guess who was coming up next? The porn sites were visited during the time that the children were away at school. So the only time whoever was doing this search on Paul's computer would have to be home while Cody and Marilee are at school.
At school, yeah.
So then this is Cody's testimony about the night before the murders. Quote, as I stood at the front of the bed, Tryon pulled down the covers and she was laying there completely naked. My dad striked up the torch and told me that I was gonna have sex with Tryon. I refused to do it. Told him I wasn't gonna do it. And as I was telling him I wasn't gonna do it, he was heating up this rod. As he burned me, he told me to do it again, and I said no. I remember Tryon scooting down the bed to the foot of the bed. She grabbed my head, put it into her breasts, and at that time, to make her let go of me, I remember biting her. As I bit her, I got burned another time with the rod. Yeah, I think that would fucking break me.
Yeah, that'd break just about anybody.
Defense attorney Gary Mitchell expressed that this was a case of a child being sexually abused and it leading up to the murders. Quote, this was a situation in which he reacted to the 3 of them and what had been happening to him all of his life. And that, as a child, he's unable to discriminate and distinguish between the 3 actors. I don't know that I necessarily agree with all that, but yeah. I guess his point is like, this is a culmination of things, and he's got a lot of anger for everybody.
Yeah.
And the 2 parents have just pushed him over the line, and now he can't change in his mind that this isn't Marilee's fault.
Yeah.
This is now all their fault. So, Cody said, quote, I lost control, sir. I didn't know what I was thinking. I didn't know what I was doing. All right, so the defense's closing argument was, quote, in the end, ladies and gentlemen, it is this. How much do we demand of a child? How much do we ask him to tolerate? And do we allow them to defend themselves? Do we allow them to defend themselves from the rapes, from the beatings?
That's
a pretty strong fucking argument.
Yeah, it's a strong argument for certain.
This whole time, they've been in child court because he's a child. He's 14. Yeah. But the whole time, the prosecution has been pushing to impose the maximum adult sentence. The prosecution has been on this boy. Like, she pointed out, have you ever lied? And he's like, yeah. Have you ever cheated? Once at cards. I mean, seriously, that's as bad as this kid ever got. And they're just, like, trying to make him this cold-hearted, like, killer, which he is a killer.
Right.
But she is literally, like, going so far as just saying, like, I don't believe him. He was never abused. He's a liar.
Yeah.
Look at these photos. How can you smile if all this was going on?
They're doing what lawyers do. They don't
being
have a moral
pieces
compass.
of shit.
They don't have a moral compass. They just need to win.
Yeah, that's all that matters to a lawyer is, like, it's not about getting justice. It's literally like, I was paid to win this case, and I will win at all costs. It took the jury 12 hours of deliberation. Mm-hmm. This is a difficult case, of course. So on Tuesday, February 7th, 2006, Cody was convicted of first-degree murder in the death of his stepsister, second-degree murder in the death of his stepmother, and voluntary manslaughter in the death of his father.
Involuntary or voluntary?
Voluntary.
Okay. I heard and voluntary, and I couldn't tell if it was involuntary.
I have a bad accent. He was also found guilty of 4 charges of evidence tampering, which, duh, he did. What this is, like, trying to point out is that they did take in consideration that the reason for killing each person was different.
Yeah.
And so they charged them as such. But what's even more interesting is the jury has found him guilty.
Yeah.
But the judge still gets to pick, like, the sentence.
Yeah, it's their job.
And they know for a fact that the prosecution is pushing for the full adult sentence. So 7 jurors actually wrote letters to the judge begging him not to put Cody in prison and to sentence him instead as a child. That's almost unheard of.
Yeah, you don't hear, jurors don't do that.
They had come across a really difficult situation where what happens is you're supposed to find someone guilty beyond, like,
Shadow of a doubt.
a shadow of a doubt, which they are. Yes, he killed them. But in their minds, like, they are looking at Cody as a child.
Yeah.
You know, so they just heard all these awful things. And it wasn't just hearing. Like, literally, they brought the hook into the trial.
Right.
Those guys were holding
everything.
these things, like, showing them, like, how, like, he was hurt and all this stuff. And, like, no one could deny the evidence on that computer. So then on Thursday, February 23rd, 2006, Cody is sentenced by Judge Counts as a juvenile.
Good.
And he is to remain in the custody of juvenile authorities until he reaches the age of 21. And then the judge ruled that it was possible to rehabilitate Cody. Upon his birthday, he was free to go. Which is, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like...
I'm not 100% certain, but I feel like this kid was pushed. You know, like, without the push, I don't feel like...
There is proof. It's on his body.
Yeah.
You know, and whether or not he was sexually abused, I think the incest porn shows it.
Yeah, that's kind of a creepy
If the dad's pushing you around and
situation.
hitting you and being you and talking shit to you in front of everyone that works for you, imagine what he really does when he's at home.
Yeah.
And, you know, his former wife is like, yeah, he's rough.
Yeah.
On September 25th, this is where it gets weirder. On September 25th, 2006, Cody is named in a wrongful death lawsuit filed by Miami attorney Jack Thompson because, of course, it's filed on the behalf of the surviving Posey relatives, so Paul's brother.
Yeah.
It also named Grand Theft Auto creator Rockstar Games, publisher Take-Two Interactive, and PlayStation 2 manufacturer Sony, because the lawsuit alleged that Cody was trained by the video game GTA Vice City to be more aggressive and a more efficient killer.
No.
I can't even drive a fucking car in those games.
I was gonna say
It doesn't
nothing.
teach you shit.
There's nothing about Grand Theft Auto that is efficient. You put a code in and you start shooting at people with rocket launchers.
And that's just stupidity.
There's no...
you know, a grown-ass boy should take a spanking, but, you know, he shouldn't play video games. It'll make him violent.
There's studies that video games don't increase violent behaviors. If anything, it's an outlet.
All right, so during his time in custody, Cody obtained his high school degree. He completed almost 2 years of college credits. He showed no disciplinary issues whatsoever. He's an exemplary, person in there, and he even serves as a mentor to the other youths in the program.
Well, that's good.
And then on 2010, Cody turned 21, and he's released.
Yep.
And at the time, his uncle Carl Cleese was saying he has a bright future. I see no problems with him progressing and getting on with his life like the rest of us. And I cannot find anything since then, and it's been 8 years.
Probably
so
witness protection or something, I'm sure.
I just hope that he's reaching his full potential as a human being who can get beyond, terrible abuse in his childhood, and he's living a happy life, and he's rehabilitated. That's what I hope.
That's what I'm hoping too.
So that was fun.
Yeah, those are different stories, huh?
Ooh. And I thank you guys so much for listening, especially all the listens and likes that you guys have been giving us on the prior episodes that we put out. It really means a lot. It makes me happy just
it
to
really
stare
does
at numbers.
to see all the likes coming in. We know we're still getting our feet wet with the podcasting, but
it seems like you like us. You really, really like us.
It helps to see that coming on.
And feel free to contact us. We're on all the social media websites.
So you can find us at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Snafood with a D podcast.
If you can't find us on the things you actually want to see us on, just send us a quick email because we check it, and we're trying to get our feet wet, like Corey said.
And that email is at snafoodpodcast or and that email is snafoodpodcast@gmail.com.
We'd also like to thank Hanu Dixit for the use of his song Motel Rock that we used for our intro. And you can find more of him at youtube.com/Hanu Dixit, which is HANUDIXIT. So thanks for hanging in there, you guys. And try and stay strong while everything's going snafu.
So we'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.